better. I'm Anthony Prestigiacomo. I'm CEO and founder of BIOCADE and multi-patented inventor of associative relevancy, knowledge, reasoning, and learning engines. And I'm here to talk to you today about an emerging space that has high value, high impact on the healthcare and research communities, and indeed even the consumer communities. That technology and what we do is what I'm here to talk about today. BIOCADE is bioinformatic conceptualization for automated intelligent discovery, assistive AI. So what we do is something called intelligent medline discovery integration. The Medline platform has a great deal of knowledge already invested into it, and it's owned by the National Library of Medicine, NIH, and it's congressionally mandated to organize information and inform other people so that they can get to research and related information. That library has 28 million peer-reviewed publications in the biomedical, life sciences, healthcare, and related industries. And it has over 2.4 million concepts, terminologies, and 180 professional vocabularies that wrap around it. These are searchable. Now, the market for this kind of technology and who's using it, 9.2 million healthcare professionals, 1.8 million drug researchers, but 1.6 million academic faculty and graduates. We're looking at 5 million a month healthcare consumers and patients we've developed with Google data, and approximately 900,000 US healthcare enterprises. We hit this, the world market basically doubles our opportunity space, and we go from there. For these people here, that you're looking at only medical practice groups that have 15 or more practitioners in them as part of who would be interested in using what we do. Now, what we're out to do here is first capture the low-hanging fruit. We do an entry-level product called freemium. It's an advertising-driven model. Given that, we have an acquisition program with multiple source capabilities that we will tune as we go forward, and it's done with Google AdWords, Bing, that kind of thing. And once we find the people, which there are 5 million plus, looking for specifically the scientific publications, not this gobbledygook and all of that, the scientific peer-reviewed publications. We know who they are, we know how to put a basket of terms together to capture them, and we know what they're interested in, and that's what we deliver to them. Now, for that, we will bring that out, and it gives us our entry level and also shows revenue, and we expect that to happen 7 months after we pull the trigger on the funding. We already have a development contract in place, plus our own team ready to go on this, and once that happens, we have numbers coming in from Google, which means our valuation should go up for our investors at that point. Now, we have 3 platforms in addition to that: a basic, which is for essentially student subscribers that are looking at the scholar market. A professional, that's for people that are actually doing high-end drug discovery research. And then we have the professional and the enterprise version, which is for drug discovery companies, Pfizer's, people like that, that are looking at high-end technology platforms that bring the literature to their drug discovery databases and other related platforms. There's a high barrier to entry here. We're using a very sophisticated IP portfolio strategy that does some cute things I can address in the question and answers, if possible. There are some technology scaling issues. A lot of this is hidden. This is not something easy to uncover, and when you do, it's a very hard wall to jump over. Our patents are dealing with that, and we're already issued several. Now, the competitor solutions, when you look at these markets, they're silo limited. I'll get to that hopefully in the question and answers. And they don't incorporate the entirety of the library. What we want to do is conceptualize across the knowledge of the entirety of the library and those 28 million publications. Remember, there's data, yeah, that's good. But where the knowledge is that you stand on the shoulders of giants for is in those publications. And if you can coordinate those and categorize those based on your discovery interest, you're winning. That's not really out there right now. So it is an emerging technology space. Here's how it looks. Let's put in headache in Google, and this is what you get. Well, that's nice, you know, oh, acute headache, throbbing headache, you know, attention. What's this tell me about, where are the peer-reviewed publications? So I'm looking for that still. That's $5 million a month. Now, on top of that, how do I know what it's about? Well, let's go and assume we might know PubMed, Medline, the actual source. There are the peer-reviewed publications. Yeah, how much does that help me out here? What do I need to do that happens here? I've got to understand this by starting to read these things. Inefficient. Assistive AI is what's about the plan to proceed here. Now, here's what we do. Now, take a look at this. What you're seeing right here is the capability of the system to pick and put the headache in the central part. And from there, you can see the knowledge that's derived by the experts that use the library and what their terms are for things. You know, you're looking at parts that have to deal with the muscular structure, the drugs, the discovery, and the elements that deal with that. And what we've done is organize this, cataloged it, and it gifts the unknowledgeable user with the knowledge of how the experts see these terms. So if I'm looking for something, now it's simple, intuitive, point and click to what I'm interested in. And there's a lot of things here: surgical procedures, pathological conditions, disorders from the environmental origin, even things like AIDS and AIDS research. So let's say I'm interested in that. I didn't know this was there. So we're unveiling the hidden relationships and the knowledge that the experts say. Now, when I do that, there I've picked acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, and now it reconceptualizes the structure of the knowledge that's associated with that and with headache, and gives you a ranked list of publications that go with it. That's powerful. That's not out there, and that's something that has a great deal of impact on the ROI of drug companies, or even helps the healthcare consumer in our freemium model. That's why they'll want to use it. Now, competitors, the Scholar stuff, Microsoft, Google publishing, those kind of things like that are out there. Some of this is subscription-based. The bigger guys, BioVia, Elsevier, Accenture. Ask me about IBM. I'll get to that. That's another interesting area that will help you understand what we're dealing with. But this is an emerging space, and it's difficult to do, and the visual navigation parts are tough. Here's our revenue streams. We start off small, but we expect to turn the corner in month 25 to profitability, our maximum investment point, which I'll show in a moment. But for that, month 21 is our deepest investment point, projected currently at $3.5 million. And we believe we'll become profitable in month 25. The biggest important thing here is we can adjust the burn rate based on how compartmentalized the rollout of the products and technology are and our development cycle for that. $650,000 remaining in convertible notes. Our lead VC and technology partner, KiwiTech's taken $250,000 already. And we're at a $10 million valuation. The money goes for app development to get freemium basic in the market, and also the acquisition of customers and the dialing up these freemium assets into revenue. That will change and allow us at that point to look at the $3 million private placement memorandum. Now, Rajneesh Group and I have deep experience with this type of market space, and 25 years each in that. Karen is a heavily experienced and has a book on entrepreneurship for angel investment and venture capitalists that's a bestseller in the space. And Scott is an expert at developing those models and tuning them in the market space. So I've got a very experienced team that I'm honored to have on board. We're small, but we can really drive this. Now, that leads me to the point where we can talk about follow-up questions and anything that the judges may have to say about this.
Anthony, thank you so much for your presentation. I can actually watch the wheels turning inside you.
Thank you.
My question is really about your competition. Just seems to me if Microsoft and Accenture and some of the other big guys are in this.
Now, there are a few things. One of them is their recognition of that with their platforms. Their technologies are already in place. Those technology platforms are not capable of harvesting without a great deal of work the associated vocabularies and let's call it semantics. They can get to some of that. But the conceptualization that the experts have already generated in Medline and through the use of Medline. So we do what's called a concept network in our higher end technologies. They're doing something more related to search and retrieve or semantic search. Hypothesis generation and discovery of hidden relationships requires a knowledge corpora that surrounds that. We took Medline and we put our conceptualization engines around it to add value to it, and that's a different thing. We can take that platform and then go to Pfizer and say, give us all of your publications, put them inside your firewall, and you can now hypothesize and discover based off of that. The efficiency factor is probably 2 orders of magnitude using what we do with visual navigation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Anthony, great presentation. I'd like to follow up on that. Do you have any pilot studies or you know, anything that you could show us or tell us about that proves that it does what you say it does, the efficacy of this program? And also, has anybody paid for this? Have you have any paying customers or pilot program that will validate the value proposition that you're making here?
This is a long-haul research project. Getting the patents, some of this stuff took 12 years. It's an emerging technology, but it's difficult. For those that are in the field, you do peer-reviewed publications, which we've done based off of one of those prototype engines you just saw run. That's a full-bore client-server application that ran on the internet we've since knocked down. Because one of the barriers to entry for these other guys is, I'm going to blow up a concept. That's nice. It's going to take a minimum of 128 gig of contiguous memory to allow for that. There's a scalability issue there. Rajneesh and I have solved that among some other barriers, and our competition, at that point, they're not really that interested in it because it's difficult if you're going to use that kind of technology. We did test this with other researchers, and we did publish. There are publications out there. There are patents out there that have been granted, and there are patent publications and some more that are in process that describe what we do. You can find me on ResearchGate and on academia.edu, and they'll reference to those types of publications in the prior work.
What about the value proposition? Any validations of that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is. Here you're looking at what the need is in the market space, and this is just on Medline. They have a lot of publications about what happens with this thing. But what you're really looking at here is that there is basically 6% of the people are experienced, 94% are not. So we know they're looking for the peer-reviewed publications. What do they do when they get there? What's helping them understand what it means to them, or what these terms mean to each other, and what the medicine is that the experts say you should use, not what some Google page ranking says. So there's a big difference there. Now, we know that this is happening because we've run, here's a recent test with Google, and what the normal click-through rate is essentially 2%. We're running a 9% click-through. We know they want it. The ad says a better visual navigation for PubMed and Medline, and we're getting those kind of results just on a simple test. So when we spool that up to the 5 million, those users for our freemium application, they're there, and they're going to be dropping in on it. And our numbers are based on casual users going through it once or twice, and then some of them will upgrade as the registered users. It's still free, but they're seeing ads, they're seeing banners, and we make money off of that and when they click.
Anthony, thanks again. This is a great presentation. My
Thank
question,
you.
I'm going to follow up kind of on Scott's line of questioning, but tell me a little bit about user adoption, especially as your freemium model. It sounds like you're going to use that as your base to then build to the next, I guess, paying models with larger institutions. But if you got your advertising that shows these people are interested, when they go in and they sign up for a freemium, are they going, the brain visual you showed really helped me understand that, hey, I can kind of focus in on these particular areas. How much data and use do you need before that's meaningful? So if a person signs up for freemium, are they going to have something out there that's similar to what that brain shows in your graphic? Or how much activity needs to happen before your AI provides the results that would be meaningful for the...
We try and make that clean. You click the link to our site because you want a better navigable access to Medline. When you click that, we're going to ask you for the term you're interested in, and then you see that graph come up. And at that point, it's, okay, that's my center focus, the node, and these edges include like AIDS or include environmental problems. Gee, I didn't know that was associated with headache. But it's important because this is the card catalog you don't get on the internet that surrounds what's in those peer-reviewed publications. They're hidden to the most part. And then we're gifting the user with the expert's knowledge of how they see these publications. So when I drop in and click something like environmental toxicology, I'm going to be moving into that.
So just as a follow-up to help me
Sure.
better understand, so if I were to sign up for a freemium, if I was one of your target market people here as your first freemium customer, would I have the advantage of having other people who've used this database be able to use that data, or is it all of that information coming from your database?
Excellent question. What we do with freemium is as you navigate the process and you collect those publications you are interested in, you can share that. And that sharing allows others to form a group and build that. So you essentially get something like a social network. I've got a grandmother that has a particular disorder, and the family wants to look at how we might be able to assist her. What are the facilities that will treat her? What are the drugs? What kind of issues are there with secondary and tertiary therapies that need to be done, or injuries that may go along with it? Those things are unique to that particular inquiry. They can be shared. We see that as one of the force multipliers in what we do. Another one is when you get out there and you are let's say a CVS pharmacy or a health insurance provider or a big hospital or group practice, well, you got your website up. Don't you think some of those customers that look at it are looking for peer-reviewed scientific information? We have a website partner program that allows them to take what we do and put it on their website. It doesn't cost them anything, and anytime somebody clicks onto that, we're going to pay them for that click. So it's a revenue generator for them. And it's an expansion force multiplier for us in our market space that is of some significant scale. I looked at this, and these people that are out there like CVS and all that, the first like 2,000 are doing 20 million hits a month. So if I get 0.02%, not the 9% we were talking about, I'm making a killing. That's what raises my numbers up.
Thank you.
1 minute left for the judges and answers. 1 minute left.
Then let me give you an example that may help you. IBM in 2014 put 19 scientists on developing what's called hypothesis generation. This is over-the-horizon technology. So what I want to do is I want to be able to say, okay, like NF-kappa beta is a 5-proteomic region where we know there's cancer research, breast cancer, and we know that there are some kinase inhibitors that may work with that. So what we need to do is we understand this, this, and this, but what we don't know is what's in common between the kinases and the NF-kappa beta region, where if we can find a kinase that will inhibit the path, we'll stop the breast cancer. That's powerful. That's over the horizon, and that's where we're going with our professional and enterprise models.
Let's give him a round of applause. Our next presenter is Chris from Omnidek. Chris from Omnidek, let's give him a round of applause.
Well, thank you guys for letting me come present to you. My name is Chris Jordan, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company here in Baton Rouge called Omnidek. At Omnidek, we are building the business network and effectively a B2B equivalent of Facebook. Now, the problem that really birthed Omnidek is this concept called Appageddon or app overload, where a lot of small to mid-sized businesses are buying too many applications to run their business. In this slide, it shows an average company with 38 employees spread across 12 different applications, creates 400 connections, 400 username and passwords, silos of information. On top of that, we're not committing to the software that we purchase. 38% of a technology stack gets turned over every 2 years, and this is what's creating absolute management nightmares. Well, the solution to this problem is very simple. Big companies do it all the time. They build intranet portals, this centralized hub for all process improvement, and they have full-time development resources that build the intranet portal. They spend millions of dollars a year to develop these, and they spend years deploying them. Well, small to mid-sized companies have the same problem, but they can't afford it. It's too expensive, their processes aren't very complicated, and also they've outsourced their IT staff, so there's no technology sophisticate inside the walls of the company, so they're left buying applications. So the solution to this is really pretty simple. Give the little guys what the big guys have. And that's exactly what we do here in Omnidek. In this no-code assembly line, a company of any size or industry can build any process improvement through one ecosystem. This is a collaborative chat conversation about the expense report or whatever the process is. And it's all happening inside of a single hub for all of your workflow, communication, and file management. Now, what makes our product really pretty sophisticated is not only can we face it inside of the company for the intranet portal, but we can also uniquely face it outside of the company. So this means your subcontractors and vendors and customers can come into your portal and do work with you, very similar to doctor-patient portals today. On top of that, we can also hook onto IoT devices that are out in the field, maybe the weigh station in the aggregate yard or the facial recognition scanner that's clocking people in at a facility. We can spawn processes through a single hub, effectively collecting data from anyone or anything that would interact with your business. But the most important thing that we do here is we're building the Facebook equivalent in the B2B space. If we think about Facebook, for an example, we post cat videos and our friends comment on them, right? In the B2B equivalent, we submit our payment applications and our business contacts comment on them. They sign documents or answer RFIs, right? In the one ecosystem free of paper, driven in data. I'm alerted just like somebody comments on my post, they're commenting on my payment application. So Omnidek is a true pioneer in this space, mainly for 3 reasons. The first of which is that we can deliver an implementation in 2 to 3 hours. The cost to implement starts at $250 a month, so there's not a company on the planet that can't afford Omnidek. And this network effect, Metcalfe's law says it's better to connect things, and we agree. The long and the short of this is Omnidek can do in 6 hours what the alternative takes 6 vendors, 6 months, and 6 figures to pull off. Now, Omnidek technically competes with every single process application on the planet. However, the reason companies move to Omnidek is really for 4 reasons. The first of which is that I mimic the same questions and answers on the expense report or the time card or the whatever application you're currently using. But our flexibility is that you can drag and drop and kind of make it your own. That maybe different divisions have their own needs. You can tailor it accordingly. But this centralization hub is what companies are really trying to create. And also they're trying to eliminate their software as a service, and we accommodate that. Now, our true competitors are not the little expense report apps, but they're actually broken down into 2 different categories. The first of which are the simple, off-the-shelf, click-to-try applications that are great at putting out fires, but not good at doing any type of enterprise or company-wide solutions. Then you have the bigger guys, the more enterprise-level solutions that are heavier to implement, more heavy cost-wise. Well, Omnidek checks all the requirements of the enterprise guys, but we do it at a speed of delivery and cost of ownership of the smaller applications. A prototypical customer of ours is best shown in this case study of Caretaker Landscape. Caretaker gave us a 5-star customer satisfaction rating in Capterra. They have 200 employees, both Spanish-speaking and English-speaking labor. We replaced a $300,000 SharePoint implementation. We replaced their timekeeping system. We replaced multiple instances of Zendesk, and in 30 days, they were fully implemented with 50+ processes inside of their intranet portal.
We saved them, it's estimated $167,000 over a 3-year period with a 3.2-month return on investment. Now, the value to our customers is really threefold. The first of which is that this centralization hub, think about this with COVID, you can't implement any new process improvements. We're not sitting in a conference room or training center. So this centralization hub creates a 90% reduction in time and cost to implement new processes. We're not Google searching and buying apps. We're effectively building it with the team that's involved in the process, right? And we're doing it in an afternoon. We eliminate 60% of email and hedge phishing and ransomware attacks, as well as a 50% reduction in the software as a service within the first 30 days. Now, a couple of stats that we want to highlight. We launched really right after COVID in June, 27,000 in monthly reoccurring. It's growing every day. The average annual contract value is $7,500. We have 46 customers now on the platform after today. But the two things I want to highlight, 46% of our customers expand to a full enterprise deployment within the first 180 days of ownership. Companies aren't in a huge aggressive position right now, but they are on the Omnidek platform. And as far as stickiness goes, the average company uses Omnidek for 11 processes inside of their company. So think about backtracking off of Omnidek, you'd have to replace with a bunch of applications. Now, our path to market is pretty straightforward. We do a lot of Google AdWords. We sell through reseller channels. We currently have 12 resellers under contract around the world. We're going to have 50 by the end of the year and 250 by the end of 2022. But the way that we're really going to grow the network, which is what we're really building, is going to be through acquisition. One of the slides we like to showcase is this Forrester study, which kind of highlights what companies we're really going to try to acquire. Well, in 2010, there was 10,000 software companies around the globe. Today, there's 100,000, and by 2035, it's estimated to be over 1 million software technology companies, right? Good luck Google searching that task management. Well, if we go to the 2010 numbers, those are 10,000 software companies. Well, let's break that down for a second. So 500 of them, you know who they are. They're major players in the market. Half of them have gone out of business, and the other half remain as lifestyle companies. They generally have under 10 million in annual recurring revenue, 2,000 customers in some niche market, under 1 million in EBITDA, and there's no exit potential in sight for them until they meet Omnidek. So because of Omnidek's kind of assembly-style architecture, it allows us to bolt anything onto the front end of it and process it through our system. Well, this affords us a unique opportunity to acquire these legacy applications and convert them to high-velocity software as a service and increase ACV and LTVC accordingly. To kind of visualize this, let's take maybe a document management company that was built in the mid-2000s, and let's say they route invoices around for approval. Well, there's probably a power user in that application, somebody who's heads down, data entering, scanning documents. We very specifically don't disrupt that end user. They're the power user, right? But when they hit submit to route that invoices around, Omnidek intercepts that data and provides the approver a more modernized and collaborative experience to approve the invoice. We then, with zero churn to the install base, converted in the next release cycle, convert the entire install base onto the Omnidek platform, and then we begin to multiply the value. The processor and the managers that currently interact with that system pay currently a $3,000 annual contract value. Once they see the value of Omnidek and all the other business forms, they start necessarily adding users, increasing their annual contract value to $8,400, we estimate. Then the fun starts, where they start inviting their customers and vendors to come to work inside of the network, perpetuating viral product awareness for us, only parallel to DocuSign today and early versions of Facebook. Now, the true value of what we're creating is the B2B network. And Metcalfe's law says a network's value is proportional to the square of the number of the nodes on the network. And every customer, let's take those 2,000 customers, if they invite what we estimate 100 users into their network, creates 200,000 businesses on our platform. Now, our exit is very straightforward. Over the next 4 years, we're going to acquire 4 to 6 of these lifestyle companies, the first 2 through equity financing and debt, the remaining through general cash flow. We believe we can acquire about 30 million top line, increasing that organically to about 50 million, reaching a $500 million valuation cap. We believe Omnidek might just be a private equity company with a product. Now, our team, who was built here in Baton Rouge, however, we brought in 2 guys from outside, Joy Krishnamurthy. He was in charge of the Visual Studio platform for Microsoft for 12 years, and Huey No actually built Beyond Trust and BombGuard out of a garage in Jackson, Mississippi to a $2 billion company. And this is Omnidek.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Chris. Sounds like a really exciting venture that you're leading. Can you tell us about the genesis of the idea? What was happening when you came up with the idea? And then a little bit more about your professional experience and whether you've started other companies or this is your first startup.
Sure.
Thank you.
So the genesis of the company, I'm not a technology guy. I'm actually a licensing guy. It's kind of my background. So the genesis of this is that I was actually a professional golfer, and I was teaching people how to play golf. And during the recession, when it hit, I had to actually get a real job and started selling software in the middle of the recession to construction companies. And I would go to these trade shows, and I'm not a technology sophisticate, so I would have to kind of think, okay, what's a purchase order? Like literally at that level, what's a subcontract? How does that work? And then so I would have to learn it at literally a fundamental level. And you go to a trade show, and I'm sure you guys have been to trade shows, and there's hundreds of vendors, and there's 6 timesheet vendors and 12 service vendors, right? And you start realizing that it's 6 pieces of information. The expense report is just slightly different data than the timesheet, as is the service ticket. And the simplistic example of that was if somebody could ever figure out how to collect the data properly and make it dynamic, you could do a whole heck of a lot for a whole lot of people. And that was kind of really the genesis of where it started. And we had a very first prototype. I've always been kind of a sale first kind of guy. And so we built a prototype with $500 in a garage with a junior developer, and we licensed a deal a little too early, and it crashed and burned. This was in 2016. And we said, okay, well, we know the product's good. People kept buying it, but we've got to do it right. And we've raised $3.3 million to date here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is probably the most impressive thing that we have done to this point. But we've raised that much money because we're very intentional about what we're building, right? The people involved in the company we have a dynamic platform. What's the best dynamic platform on the planet? Visual Studio. The dude who wrote the book, literally, if you Google him, is on our board, right? And scaling a company from nothing to a $2 billion company, that's why those guys are involved. And my technical background, I'm not just a golfer. That company that I started selling software for went through a bunch of issues financially. I effectively had to go become an independent contractor to it to sell it. I refocused it into a market, which Sage accounting software is where they had a competitive advantage. And I started working their distribution channels, and they had one competitor in the market. And we did a licensing deal which effectively cut the competitor out of the market exclusively, cutting the head off the snake, if you will. And that created so much attention from Sage. Sage swooped in and licensed that product for them, or from them. So now it's called Sage Paperless here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So my experience is really kind of working through dealership channels and finding product market fits in there.
Chris, good presentation there. I've got a bunch of questions. We only have a few minutes here. As I understand it, the customer acquisition strategy that you're going for, you've got your resellers out there, but as I understand it, you're going to do these M&A acquisitions of these niche products and then upsell the customers. So could you tell us a little bit about your customer acquisition upsell strategy? Who's going to do that? What does your network look like that's going to do that? And then the acquisition timeline. I'm sort of looking at this as like a CRM kind of a product too, as part of it. And I know that that is a long timeline for decision making, because once you make that decision, then you're embedding that in your company in a real way, which helps with the stickiness, but sometimes it makes the acquisition timeline out. And then I'm going to throw in a whole bunch of stuff in here. The M&A strategy. Tell us a little bit about what valuation multiples you think you could possibly pay that would still be accretive and work with your strategy.
Sure. So.
Throw that out.
Okay. So. First and foremost, let's think about the smaller lifestyle companies, right? Especially the ones that were started in 2005. They're looking, the guy's on his boat playing golf, just making sure support's being taken care of. That's kind of the process. Well, there's probably not going to be an exit like that. They've kind of come to that realization. But what we found through our investigation, there's actually a lot of business brokers that are trying to find buyers for those types. So we found a lot of connections through that. Companies that guys just have connections that are kind of a pseudo VC where they get to commission on brokering the deal or something like that. So we've been able to find that there's a whole bunch of these companies out there, and generally speaking, they're somewhere in that $6 to $7 million range, wanting a 1x, not going to be able to get a 1x. So the ability of doing kind of a $1 million to $2 million up front and a cash flow payout over a couple of years is perfectly cash flowable in our business model, and that's kind of our thought on how we go about doing it. I would definitely say, I'm trying to think about the implementation side. Okay, so part of this is that we want to find applications that we can actually enhance and add value to, right? And the invoice, it was a perfect example. We love AP invoice companies because there's dollars associated to it. Like if you think about the invoice, it's actually a pay app a lot of times, right? Well, what's better than getting it's coming through the mail or via email? Through the portal electronically, right? And that we can provide that as an added value. Plus we do the expense report. Plus we do the purchase requisition and the delivery ticket and the company credit card. So because we start touching all those other points, it's an immediate value add to somebody who's just scanning in the documents, right? So that's one example of how we could add immediate value. However, what we've been starting to see more traction on is actually at the accounting provider level, where they could actually come in and license us, especially as they move to cloud ERP. They have an API backend now, not ODBC, tough hack connections to it. Well, if you have an API connection, and we have an API too, then I can act as a wrapper offering a complete seamless end-to-end data collection from anyone that feeds ERP. And that's really the accounting system's the biggest problem, is that the data is 30 days stale, right? So with our company being able to analyze the data through a BI dashboard, seeing what's currently out en route versus what's actually committed to my accounting system, I can actually see cash in real time for the first time ever. So we're kind of playing with a lot of different opportunities there, but the dime a dozen guys to implement are a lot of those lifestyle guys out there.
Just quick comment, as someone who's worked in a lot of these functions, I think you're really onto something with the complexity of all the different things that go along and all the different applications. My question for you, help me understand. Yeah, sure. Sorry about that. We'll learn soon. So, in regards to the acquisition strategy, are you attempting to replace these other softwares or add on and upsell them? I'm still a little confused about that. And then the second part of the question, if you can talk a little about existing customers and your retention of those. I don't know how long you've been at it, but you said you had using 11 modules or whatnot, or 11 different applications. Talk about how long they've been a customer, and if you've lost any, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the first piece of that is that not all companies are created equal, and Omnidek has this very unique way of kind of either acting as a complement, right, to where like the invoice routing one, for example, right? So we can add those additional processes which add value to just a document scanning company, for example. We also, because of that dynamic front end, we can actually build clusters, is what we call it, but it's effectively a clustered group of questions that mimic the exact same functionality that they currently have in an app, which effectively would allow us to completely eliminate that application. So what we trade, because let's take the first example where there's a legacy application that we may maintain that processor, right? So we very specifically do that because I can convert them. If I maintain that complex user, I can convert them timeline-wise from literally closing the deal to full conversion of the client base in really under 12 months, probably closer to 6 months to be able to do that. So I'm trading off having to have some legacy support to be able to do it quicker and more efficiently. And what's nice about it is I can acquire in particular niches that are repetitive. Sometimes there's a couple of competitors that do similar things, acquiring both of them or all of them, and then consolidating them into one system. That's kind of a longer term strategy. So that's one piece of it. Your other question about the company, I'll give you two examples. That caretaker landscape has been on for about a year now. Since they implemented. And their renewal came up, and I had a conversation with the owner. I said, hey, if you want to pay annually, we can give you a discount or multi-year. And he said, well, it's not like I have a choice. You have every process in my company, right? So I think that kind of highlights just how sticky the application is, because we are the file management. Companies went paperless and didn't realize it. It's just they're in pure data form. And you replace a SharePoint. How would you ever replace it with 50 processes? What would come behind it, right? So I think that's one piece of it. One of the biggest challenges that we did learn out to market, though, because we've been out to market really for 6 months doing a lot of Google investment, is that we have a responsibility to educate, because there's a lot of people that are Google searching that their only responsibility is the expense report, for example. And they don't care that you're the business network and all of these other processes and great. They just care that, what does the screen look like? Can my guys or girls do it out in the field? And where do I approve it? Like, that's really all they care about. So we found that although Google is good to be able to have people raise their hand, it's better served at the executive level. And that's why we pivoted slightly into the value-added reseller channel, where these guys are the IT consultants. So they're coming in, talking to the CEOs, CFOs about app production, enterprise deployment, and also they sell professional services, so they want to do that as well. So we found that it does take, the best customers. It's not that we can't do the little guys. It's just the best customers see the most value, and it's best done at the C-level, which can actually push it down.
That is about it for time. Let's give him a round of applause. From Relief onto the stage, let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you guys for this opportunity and bringing us. But I'm Vishal Vasanji. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Relief. 2020 forced every business model across almost every industry to innovate and rethink how they reach their customers, not just digitally, but also physically. And so consumers virtually, no pun intended, could get anything and everything delivered into their home. You want groceries? There's an app for that. You want toothpaste? There's an app for that. You want that local burger from a restaurant? There's a local app for that. But what about healthcare? I want you to think about your healthcare experience over the last 12 months. What you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. But how do you get healthcare truly delivered into your home? I'm not talking about FaceTime and I'm not talking about video chat, but true delivery. So we've all been there, right? We woke up, didn't feel good, and we needed to see the doctor. Well, and today you have two options. You can go to the doctor's office, you can hang out for about 2 hours with the sickest of your friends, and walk out with about a $200 bill. Or you can open your app on your phone, talk to a random doctor or your local doctor, and within a few minutes get a diagnosis, maybe some antibiotics, and they put you on your way. No testing, no diagnostics, just literally whatever they can see and hear from the video chat. But what if there was a third option, right? A third option where you combine the best of both worlds. Relief is that third option. So we took the convenience of a video visit with a local physician, and we combined it with a network of field nurses that can go to your house and truly deliver healthcare. So testing, diagnostics, all the things that you would get at a doctor's office, you can get at home. So what is Relief? I'm gonna start by saying what Relief isn't. Relief is not a telemed company. We're not a video chat company. We are a healthcare delivery company. So we are a healthcare platform that empowers true delivery of healthcare services into your home. I want you to think about that. It's not healthcare delivery in the traditional sense. It is true delivery. Like e-commerce, like Amazon delivery is true delivery. What does that really mean, right? So Relief is a technology platform that connects local care delivery partners with patients. So if you're a patient, you open the app, you can get access to local doctors, local pharmacies, local clinics, local labs. If you're a care delivery partner, if you're one of those care delivery partners, Relief takes care of all the patient administration, patient engagement, communication, logistics, medical record keeping, payments. We handle all the overhead. For Relief, what we've essentially done is we created an ecosystem without the investment and without the overhead. Think about all the things that a hospital does. We can do those same things. We don't have to pay for all that. So why do patients choose us over other platforms? Because of our network of field nurses, we can literally deliver testing, physical evaluations, diagnostics, all at home. Whereas other platforms, they're limited to just audio video, right? And so essentially we are delivering a doctor's office experience without the office. And so as a patient, we're making better use of your time. Most of you in the audience, and maybe even online, have Epic's MyChart on your phone. Not very user-friendly, not very intuitive, somewhat laborious. At Relief, we fundamentally believe that you, the patient, your experience should mimic that of other popular consumer apps. Facebook, Netflix, YouTube, Waiter, all these things are very easy to use. And so Relief's mobile app is very simple, intuitive, and easy. This is just a rating that we got from one of our early patients that use our platform. They said the process was easy and it was definitely safer than going to a doctor's office. So how do we stack up against our competition? There are definitely alternative solutions out there, and they're good at their niche things that they do. But Relief is one of the only solutions that across the board checks the boxes on true delivery of healthcare into the home. So you can get video visits, at-home diagnostics, follow-ups, prescription delivery, all in your home. Never have to leave. So before the pandemic, digital health solutions were about a 12% utilization rate. the pandemic, like everything else, shot nitrous into the digital health industry, right? And so it's estimated that about 25% of healthcare visits are now being done online or virtually. For Relief, that represents a close to over $500 million revenue opportunity. And the industry is expected to grow over 20% for the next 2 to 3 years. So right now, we are in the midst of a digital health revolution. The stock market has definitely rewarded those companies that are part of this revolution. If you look at what stocks were trading before pandemic versus what they're trading now, stark difference. Relief is right smack dab in the middle and positioned perfectly to take advantage of these valuations in the long term. So 2020 was a great year for Relief. We have over about 12,500 users in our platform, and we have downloads in almost every major market in Louisiana. So like every other healthcare organization, we were focused on COVID testing and COVID-related services in 2020. However, as a management team, we have looked past COVID and said, how do we position ourselves to mimic a doctor's office? So strategically, over the next 3 quarters, we're going to add services whereby the next cold and flu season will basically be a doctor's office during the height of the season, right? So our revenue model, just like our mobile app is simple, intuitive, and easy, so is our revenue structure. We have 5 price points. Traditionally, you have no idea what you're going to spend at a doctor's office until you walk out. With us, you know exactly what you're going to spend before you even open the app. So we feel that this affordability, convenience factor, and patient experience is really what's going to drive the company over the next 4 to 5 years. So by 2024, our goal is to do over 2.5 million visits and generate over close to $300 million in revenue. After we pay the doctors, the nurses, and the field supplies, marketing is our next largest expense. It's about 30% of revenue, which is on par with on-demand services. And we feel we need to use that type of money to generate that kind of growth. To generate that kind of growth, you have to have a really great team. And we have one of the best teams. We have healthcare insiders and outsiders on our team because that's what we do. We're trying to break the status quo of healthcare, so you got to look outside the box. Chris Moe is a senior advisor. He helps us with logistics and user acquisition and overall company strategy. We have a 25-year healthcare strategist in Sean Prados who helps us with healthcare regulatory issues, compliance, and healthcare strategy. And then we have a couple of physicians on our team who make sure that the Relief platform is clinically relevant for the providers, but also for the patients. Now, in order to generate that kind of growth, you have to have capital. So right now, we're in the process of raising $1 million, and that $1 million is not going to go towards product development, but it's going to go towards scaling the company. We're going to use it for sales and marketing, scaling our network of nurses in new markets, and then investing in our organization and our people and our culture. So just to dig a little bit deeper in the use of funds, for sales and marketing, we're going to hire B2B salespeople to go out and generate revenue and capture those opportunities. And then in order to execute upon those opportunities, we have to scale our network into new markets. So we want to make sure that our nurse network is fully optimized and efficient so that we're making the best use of those revenue dollars. And then in order to support those people that are in the field, we have to have a strong organization back home. And so we want to invest in some key personnel to really help drive the growth of the company over the next 4 to 5 years. And then lastly, as any company grows, you have to invest in your people and you have to invest in your culture. And that is the foundation of our company. And we want to make sure we have a solid foundation so that we can work on growing the company as opposed to working on issues back at home. This is the part where I give a shout out to my team that's listening and watching online. 2020, we started with $0 in revenue and a 0 headcount. We closed 2020 with over $1.5 million in revenue and 10 reliefers, like we like to call them. And I am so proud of my team for what they accomplished, given the circumstances that were presented to us and the opportunity that was in front of us. We took advantage of it and we ran with it. And I know that if you, the investment community, invest in my company with your capital and your expertise, we're going to make you just as proud of our team as I am of my team. And I'm going to close it out by saying I have one of the best teams. And this is a quote that I've read and that I live by. The difference between success and failure is a great team. And you can have a B product, but an A team, and you're going to win. And we have an A team. Thank you. Yeah. So the guy that does the integrations is standing in the back.
Oh.
He's my CTO, and he basically
There he is.
he has a word that says if they have an API or a backend integration, we'll connect to it. So the holdup is never on our end. The holdup is always on the system, and the system's always slow walking and never want us in. But it's never going to be us that is not able to integrate. We can integrate with. We built our own software in house, so we can integrate literally with anyone that is willing to integrate with us.
But that's the question. I mean, we all know that the integration of healthcare data and information is such an important issue right now.
Right.
So what kind of reception are you getting from?
Yeah, so
potential
one of the providers in our network is on Athena, and we actually have an email chain going right now about integrating with Athena and their EMR so that the data that's in our system they can put into theirs and vice versa. So as long as somebody gives us that connection to that EMR or that health system, and they're willing to work with us, we can work with them.
Great presentation, really do appreciate it. My question is about your revenue model. So you spoke about 1.5 million in revenue. Help me understand who your customer is. There's the $59 and $99. Is the ultimate customer the patient who would be paying for that, like they'd be paying for a visit? And then are you paying nurses and doctors a portion of that? Help me understand that. And I want to speak, you talk about the customer who's using Athena. Are you selling them a software, or are you providing the actual medical service to the customer and billing directly to the customer? So maybe you can explain your revenue model.
Yeah, so there's two ways. There's the cash pay models, right? So shameless plug, please go download the app and use it. When you download the app, you pay $59 for a video visit, and of that $59, $39 will actually go to the doctor that you see. And so our doctors are actually doctors in clinics around town. So that clinic strikes a deal with us to say, hey, my providers are sitting around not doing really much or sitting at home. They can make money for me. And so we pay the doctor a $35 fee, and then we keep the balance on the video visit. When it comes to insurance, we're this close to getting into Blue Cross's in network with Blue Cross. And so for Blue Cross, we'll just bill Blue Cross, and then they'll pay us, and then we'll pay the doctors and the nurses on the back end. Our ultimate customer is we're really targeting large employers. We're a deal in the works with one of the largest banks in Louisiana for all their employees, and we'll offer our service to their employees, and the bank is going to cover a portion, and then the employees will cover a portion.
That's really helpful. So is your focus on signing up those corporate customers, or going out to the physicians to sign them up? So if I downloaded your app today, how many physician options would there be? Can I choose, or is one just assigned to me?
So in about 30 days, you'll have the option of just picking a physician, or you can have the first available. So that feature is rolling out. Right now, you can pick the ones you want. We have about 40 physicians in our network spread across Louisiana, between Alexandria and Baton Rouge and New Orleans. We're growing that market. We're growing that network. But to answer your original question, yes, our target is to target large employers or employers in general first, and then go after the consumer market. So it's a little bit of a bottom. It's a two-pronged approach. We want to convince employees to go to their employer to say, you need to get in network with Relief. But even if you're not affiliated with an employer, you can still download the app and use it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vishal. The nurses obviously are a big part of this, as well as the physicians. Tell us about the relationship with them. Are they employees or independent contractors in your model? And one of the things I think about is, right, if you start getting traction, then what would prevent some other provider from going out there paying the physicians instead of $35, $40, and the nurses instead of whatever you pay them something else, sort of like they poach real estate brokers or other things and other businesses. So how do you deal with those issues?
Yeah, so our nurses are independent contractors, so they're not employees of the company. And they work somewhat like a gig economy. They pick up shifts whenever they want. So they have a mobile app on their phone. And let's say my buddy Ben here downloads the app and requests a visit. It'll get pushed to all the nurses that are in his vicinity. And whoever picks it up, can go to his house, get him tested, or whatever they need to do. And then they'll get paid on the back end. To your question about what's going to stop somebody from doing it.
Barrier to entry. What's your barriers to entry and competition?
Yeah, so it's very difficult to build a network and manage a network. And we're not naive to think that other companies may not do it. However, it's a race to first, right? So if we build a big enough network, then in the tech space, it's usually let's buy instead of build. And so they'll look at the Louisiana market or the markets that we're in and say, we want to enter that market. Let's just buy this company out as opposed to trying to build it ourselves. So it's very difficult, as we've learned through the last 12 months, to manage nurses in Alexandria and Shreveport, which we have. And so those are the logistical and the organizational challenges that you have. If you have the wherewithal to do it, you can definitely do it. But it's a matter of who's willing to put the time and effort behind it to do it. Because it took us 12 months to figure it out. Some bigger companies don't have 12 months. They'd rather just buy us. So the barrier to entry is high in the sense of time, not money. Does that make sense?
Yep, sure does.
Yeah, there's a lot of logistical challenges you got to work through.
And if we have another minute, just it's a $1 million ask. Do you have any, is it a convertible note or is it a seed round? Do you have a lead investor?
If you have $1 million, I will talk equity.
Okay, I got it. Understood.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
right now it's a convertible note.
Fair enough.
All right, I'll ask one more if we have a minute or two. So this year you had mentioned you had pivoted to COVID testing, being opportunistic, which is great. So tell me how that works with your software to provide a service like that, where I would think you'd have to go physically somewhere. So explain to me how you were able to make that pivot and provide your service.
Yeah, so prior to March, we had this business model prior to March and this concept prior to March. And so really you can take COVID test and substitute it with flu test. You could take the flu test out and substitute it with the urinary tract infection test. So really it's not the test that drives the platform, it's the tech behind it. The test is just a service that's provided. As far as COVID testing, anybody in this room that wants to get tested, if they download the app, they can order a test and a nurse will show up within an hour. We'll get you tested. If it's rapid, you'll get answers in 15 minutes. If it needs to be sent to a lab, they'll get dropped off at a lab and you'll have results in less than 24 hours, hopefully if the lab's not behind. But the platform really is test and diagnostic agnostic. Take the test, substitute it for what it is or add it to it, and the technology stays the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Appreciate that.
We got about a minute and a half left.
For example, like our employer contracts that we have that we've been doing COVID testing for, they've already asked us, hey, can we do drug testing through your company? And we can absolutely do it. We're just trying to find a lab partner that can do the drug test.
You say you have 12,500 users?
Yeah, that was
How many are repeat users?
I don't know the exact number, but I'd say quite a few have recently, with the second surge, come back around and used it again. I don't have the exact figure on top of my head.
Got 1 minute.
Michelle, can you tell us a little bit about your professional experience before this venture?
Yeah, so came out of Shaw Group. I bought my first healthcare services company. It was a sitting company. I used to send sitters to people's homes. Sold that, tripled the size of it, sold it, and then I started an urgent care company after that. We got up to 4 locations. I exited my piece of it, and then got into this. So this is really a combination of my first company and my second company, and we put it together to do this.
You're soon to be a serial entrepreneur. Thank you.
So the judges will deliberate. While they are deliberating, our first presentation, I don't know, has anyone here heard of the Youth Entrepreneurs Association? Show of hands. Youth Entrepreneurs Association. Great organization helping the young women and men in our community learn how to do entrepreneurship. And what we are going to be treated with is we have Thomas O'Connor from YEA, who's going to come talk for a couple of minutes. This is a YEA pitch of sorts. So let's give Thomas a round of applause.
Hi, I'm Thomas O'Connor, a sophomore at the Episcopal School of Baton Rouge and the founder and CEO of Face Tutor. Have you ever been up late at night, banging your head against the wall, trying to figure out the last problem on your math homework? She has. What if she could get the help she needs from a pool of quality tutors on demand? And on the other side, what if that same pool of experts and educators were out there just waiting for an opportunity to make a few bucks on the side? Well, that's Face Tutor. It combines mobile, voice, and video technology with collaboration tools, allowing tutors to help students on demand. Look, we all know that educators are undercompensated, so providing them with a side hustle where they can utilize their true expertise allows tutors from any geographies to help students wherever they may be. And the service they provide is truly in demand. I can tell you from personal experience. There are 3 components to FaceTutor. 24/7 access, which allows for students to get the help they need whenever it's convenient for them. Video chat functionality, which allows for more effective communication than through text-based services, like the ones currently on the market. And session notes, which allow students to review what they've learned for upcoming quizzes and tests. We plan to charge $45 for a 1-hour session of FaceTutor, from which we will make $20. But we also are considering incorporating a surge pricing model based on supply and demand. Maybe we'll increase the price just a little bit around exam time. Over 8 years, there is a projected 45% increase in the e-learning market, which shows the huge potential for solutions like FaceTutor. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it has become clear just how big the need for solutions like FaceTutor really is. Schools have transitioned to distance learning, and students struggle even more to learn the material due to having virtually no one-on-one instruction from teachers. FaceTutor can fill these learning gaps and help students become more academically successful. Look, I know I'm not here to ask for money, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask a room filled with people interested in entrepreneurship for something. My business wants to utilize web hosting services, increase app development, and integrate third-party systems like Zoom and G Suite. This will cost a serious investment into my company. Thank you. So today I'm asking for $1,000 just to get us started. Thank you, and please consider joining us in tutoring for your future.
So, Thomas, do you have a second to answer any questions they may have?
Sure.
All right, if you have a question, we've got about 5 minutes. I will bring the microphone to you while you're thinking about pulling out your Venmo or credit card or check for the $2,000 that he really needs. Any questions? All right, hold on 1 second. I'm wearing my mask, so it's socially okay.
Okay, Thomas, love the young entrepreneur spirit. What's currently on the market now? Like, who's your competition? How you going to beat them, etc.?
So we currently do not have any competition that does all 3 of the main components. We have some competition with some local libraries and some paid services where you can basically text with a tutor. So you can say, I'm having trouble on my math homework, and the teacher will try and text you how to answer the question. Now, you can see there's some problems with this, starting with some of the symbols I would need for a math equation, let's say a limit or a logarithm. Those aren't in a traditional typing keyboard. So that already stunts how a teacher can help. But with FaceTutor, they could just video chat with the teacher and write it out and show it to them. We also have some competitors that do offer video chat services. Most of these are companies that employ their tutors, and they charge upwards of $100 an hour. And they also have subscription-based services where you pay to use their service, and then you pay for each session. So we are priced significantly lower than them.
So we have time for about one more question. All right, of course, the serial entrepreneur in the back.
First of all, congratulations on this. Keep up with the hustle, and no matter what happens, keep going. You ever thought about partnering with schools? Because I got 2 little ones, and I would love something like this. Instead of me tutoring them, somebody else tutoring them.
We have considered, that's actually my plan for trying to recruit teachers. My plan is to go to principals and say, hey, I can offer your teachers, all the teachers at your school, I can offer them this service, and it can allow them to make a few extra bucks on the side. At night, after they put their kids to sleep, they can jump on and help a random high school student who may not even be in the same time zone as them work on their calculus homework. And I'm also considering doing that, going to them and asking, please tell your students about this. I would love for them to use our service.
Awesome. Let's give him a round of applause. And by the way, Thomas's mother and agent is in the room. Big wave your hand. So if you are interested in contributing to that $2,000 you needed? You just need $1,000. Go talk to them. Our next presentation, Thomas, thank you so much, by the way.
Thank you.
Our next presentation, we've got a very, very good guy coming up here. Chris Cummings, founder and CEO of Pass It Down. He's been on the radio show, and he's also the winner of the 2019 BREW High Stakes Pitch just 1 year ago. So he's going to catch us up with what's been going on 1 year later. What's it like having won the crown jewel of pitch events in Baton Rouge and where he is. Chris is a tremendously good guy. He's also got a great heart. He's also occasionally a criminal defense attorney every once in a while. So let's give a round of applause to Chris.
All right, we got it, yeah. Awesome. Hey, everyone. First, just want to say thank you to BREW for putting this contest on. I am originally from Louisiana, and this contest allowed me the opportunity to move home. And so that's a pretty special opportunity. I didn't know I was moving home to COVID and was not going to get a chance to be able to meet everyone for like a year, but it's a work in progress. And so competitions like this and events like this are a great way to be able to foster and build an entrepreneur community, and they're really important. So I believe in contests like this, and I hope it continues and it is supported. So let me give you an update on what's happened over the course of a year. And I'll start a little bit with what we do and how the contest made a difference for us. So last year, we had just completed Techstars Austin. It's one of the top 2 or 3 accelerators in the world. I was building my company in Austin and continuously coming home because I like Louisiana culture when I heard about this contest. And when we had a chance to share what we were working on, fortunately, and here's the thing that most people don't know. Like, what is a cultural institution? That's a library like this, a museum, a university that's doing historical work. There are more museums alone in the US than there are McDonald's and Starbucks combined. It's a massive, massive industry that no one really pays attention to. It's so massive, it's a $31 billion industry. But the problem is the way that these institutions engage their visitors is incredibly outdated. The problem for a museum today is that that Rembrandt on the wall is far less exciting than the phone in every kid's hand. And every cultural institution is stuck in the Stone Age. And it is critical to figure out how to engage their visitors to keep people walking through the door and to continue making money. So Pass It Down is a digital design platform. Think like Adobe or Canva, but for exhibits, focused on taking your content and making it interactive online and for touchscreens. Everything we were doing accelerated rapidly when COVID-19 hit. The world was already going digital for museums. They knew they needed to do it. But when COVID-19 hit, every museum around the world all of a sudden had to shut their doors. And for a museum, that makes money in 2 ways. That is engaging a visitor online, or engaging a visitor through a ticket sale or through renting their museum for an event. COVID was a death sentence. So they needed a way to be able to continue to serve their community and to be able to continue to monetize. And that's exactly what we do. So our platform transforms how these institutions and brands engage their visitors, and we give them a turnkey platform to be able to make that possible. So with our platform, you have one solution that allows any institution the ability to create an online exhibit where we can take and showcase all of your collections of content in dynamic and responsive ways. That same platform allows you to power any touchscreen experience or any kiosk you might have inside of your doors. And one of the coolest things about our technology is that it has crowdsourcing built into the platform. So every visitor to your museum has the opportunity to be able to share their story with you. And so we fortunately have been growing very quickly. So what has happened over the last year? We have signed a number of brands, municipalities, libraries, museums, universities, art galleries. On the brand front, we've signed over 3 Fortune 500 companies in the last 6 months to where we are serving and helping them showcase their content. That's for lobbies, trade shows, conferences, events, R&D, and more. By the way, shout out, one of our clients is the East Baton Rouge Public Library. And there is a perception around what libraries are. And that perception is the perception we all have from our childhood. But every library around the world is becoming the library that we're standing in today, which is a modern, dynamic, cool, interactive community center where it's more than books. It's an opportunity for us to come together in events like this, and we're serving their needs. So the slides that here we go. So here are a few of our clients. It's everyone from Porsche and their Experience Center in Atlanta, which, fun fact, is Avengers headquarters, to the city of Chattanooga that licensed our platform to showcase the entire history and stories of the city, and where everyone in the city can be able to share and submit their story. We missed one. One of the coolest projects we did this past year, it didn't pop up, was the city of Portland, Oregon, that uses our platform to showcase every piece of public art in the entire city so that every local and every tourist has the ability to explore incredible collections of art. So how did BREW help us over the last year? Well, the moment we won BREW, it generated a lot of press, locally and nationally. That press generated like 40,000 website visits for us over the course of a week. All that press helped us to be able to generate new business, new attention, new awareness for what we do. From BREW, we can directly attribute in 1 month over $45,000 in new licenses, literally in 30 days. And that's all because of this contest. And by the way, that's all recurring revenue, which means that this year, that $45,000 represents not only another $45,000, but with upsells, another $60,000. So that's $105,000 in licenses from just this contest alone. We don't even get to the prize money. It also helped us significantly in the fundraising because it represents momentum. When you win something, it helps provide credibility. And that's ultimately the question for any startup. Startups, everyone pitches and says they have a great idea. And the ideas are good. But the question is, in a crowd of good ideas, who do you choose to invest in? And fundraising is hard. It's something that every startup has to do. And so you need to be able to build credibility and trust and awareness behind what you do to be successful in fundraising. And so in the middle of a global pandemic, when the world was going crazy, in which I saw several of my friends lose their companies who had momentum to fundraise, but they weren't able to anymore because of the pandemic, we were fortunate to be able to raise $860,000 from one of the top 10 angel groups in the country. We were very fortunate that our model was one that not only was successful before COVID, but accelerated in COVID. And that's a good circumstance in a really crappy situation, but it's also true to our business. In addition, ultimately, everything we've done has been able to help me do my favorite part, which is to hire good people and to grow my team. And to be able to continue to find people I want to work with that want to be able to make an impact on the community and to be able to do good work. That's a new CTO. That's a new incredible chief designer. I have people from around the world leaving companies where they're making 5 to 10 times more than I can pay them because they want to come work and do what we're doing. And that's incredible. We've also allowed us to be able to relocate. I'd love to be able to hang out with everyone in a post-COVID world. My wife and I picked up, and so did others, to be able to come here, and it's been pretty cool. And then I think I have another one. Yeah. It's also, props to BREW for being able to put on CEO roundtables through Zoom. Steven still has to run sometimes to be able to get the microphone to stop shouting, but it works. So more than anything, I just want to say thank you to BREW. This is my chance to say thank you to you. You made a huge difference for my company. And to anyone in this room, I'd love to be able to have a chance to connect. I'm fortunate. I love technology. This is the 4th time I've been CEO. I've had a chance to be in a company that grew from 0 to 19 million in annual revenue, and we did it in less than 3.5 years. I've also seen companies self-destruct. I've been a part of all of it. But there's something really special about the entrepreneur community because they're willing to take risks to try to create things that don't exist. And there's a process to doing that the right way, and there's a certain people that's attracted to that chaos. And I love that community. So thank you to everyone, and yeah. Hey, Franz.
Thank you very much, Chris Cummings. Scott is going to do the same thing I just described. Come to the stage, give a few encouraging words, and announce this year's winner. Thank you, Scott. Round of applause.
Okay. Okay. Well, first, I want to congratulate all the finalists. Just making the finals is terrific. And I also want to say that it was a very tough decision. It was, the scoring was very close. It was at the beginning not unanimous among the judges, so we had to discuss it, and we had to make a hard decision. Unfortunately, we had to decide who's going to be the winner. So it's my pleasure to announce that the winner of the pitcher and the big check is Omnidek.
Yay! Omnidek! Would the representatives from Omnidek please come forward?
Come on up, Jenny and Will. Come on up here. Yeah.
So
I think this is a photo op for.
I absolutely agree. This
Chris,
is a photo op.
Congratulations.
And by the way, let it be said, everyone this evening that participated in this event has outstanding potential and is in fact a winner. So let's give all the companies a round of applause.
All right, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming. I'm Genevieve Silverman, CEO of Nexus Louisiana. And I always love this event. It's one of the favorite things that we do every year because BREW is really the embodiment of Nexus Louisiana's mission to accelerate the growth of high-tech, high-potential, high-technology-enabled companies by providing them with coaching, capital, and connections. And connections is what I hope everyone gained today, even the people that did not win the competition. Hopefully you were able to gain some new friends, business partners, and potential investors. And I want to thank the whole Nexus team, Wendy Overton, Lauren Castine, and Stephen Lloyd, Todd Lowry, Casey, Connor. Everybody on the Nexus team really made this thing happen, and it's an amazing effort every year. Thank y'all so much.
Hey, all y'all that have been watching BREW all week long have seen a lot of me. So I just want to speak for a moment about what BREW means to me. I organized the first BREW 10 years ago, and I sat there at that table with all those economic development people and entrepreneurs and nonprofit and supporters and fans and everyone that wanted to make something special. Make Baton Rouge a place that we were proud of, a place that we could all thrive, a place that we felt that ourselves and our children could have an economic freedom, an economic future, great education, a great place to live. So that first BREW was the beginning of a dream, really, a dream of us breaking free from anything that the news told us that we were, the stats told us that we were, the crime told us that we were. It was a dream of what we all believe that we are and can and should be. I still believe in that dream, and I'm so proud that here we are 10 years later, BREW 10, and I think that we are moving towards that dream collectively, individually. We've got work to do. I know we have work to do. But I'm also really proud of all the contribution that has gone into this event, into all of BREW, and into all the work that everybody does every day, and all the work that everyone that goes to work every day is doing. I know so many entrepreneurs that their heads down and they're not watching this event. Their heads down, they did not watch any of BREW. I know that. And you know what? I'm okay with it. I wish they were here, but my heart goes out to them and I say, go for it, because you're making our world a better place. So as we bring Brew 10 to a close, I want to encourage all of you to think about what you want 2021 to be like, what you want the next 10 years to be like, what you want your life, your community, your children's life to be like, because together we can make that happen. So thank you to everybody that helped make all of the brews up till now a reality. And thank you to all of the people who will make all of the future brews a reality. Y'all have a great night. Thank you.
So, with that being said, make sure you give away all your business cards. You guys have a safe evening. Make sure you talk to all these judges and all these potential investors. The Power Pump girls, myself, wish you a good evening.